Okay, now I've gone through all this paperwork, all this research that I've been looking through on these vaccines. Okay, and I've made kind of like a timeline and who it leads back to. Okay, Africa, December 20th, 2012, Village Goro, Northern Chad, Africa. 500 children supposedly received this MenAfriVac vaccine for meningitis. Ages 7 through 18. 40 of those children became paralyzed, and it says that this vaccine traveled outside of the cold chain for 4 days, in which the Bill Gates Foundation said that this can travel outside of the cold chain for up to 4 days. After these children received this vaccination, within 24 hours, they were having headaches, vomiting, convulsions, and saliva and foaming at the mouth. After receiving the vaccine, by December 26th of 2012, 50 children became paralyzed. The government's response to the tragedy was paying off the parents to silence them. Now, to the proof of this came out more. Over 100 million in 10 African countries received the MenAfriVac vaccine, and at the time the testing was still going on this vaccine when it was given to these children. Okay, by 2013, some of the sick children were taken to Libya, and it says here, because this lady did two different articles. She did one on January 6th, 2013, and the same woman did another one on January 25th. It said, it now has been officially confirmed that in December 2012, 38 children were hospitalized after receiving the meningitis vaccine, MenAfriVac, during a vaccination campaign by the Chadian government. News program France 24 stated that Shala Hamat Badami, a former member of the parliament in Chad, confirmed that 7 of the most serious affected children have since been evacuated from hospitals in the capital of the city of Njinva to the Republic of Tanzania in northern Africa to undergo further investigation and specialized treatment. The news was confirmed by the Medical Express, a health news service, which said Health Minister Mamant Nahor Nagara made the following statement in the Agence France Presse, the largest French news agency in the world, AFP. During the last phase of the vaccination campaign organized in Goro near the Libyan border on December 11th to the 15th, 2012, unusual reactions were noted. Ngarwa added that their state of health is not worrying. Forced vaccinations. However, the Medical Express, along with other websites, followed the story the next day by backtracking and stating the following information. In a statement, the country's health minister said tests failed to establish a causal link between the clinical manifestations observed in patients and the MenAfriVac vaccine. According to the statement, one child who never received the meningitis shot claimed of suffering from the same symptoms found in other children. However, a contact in Chad gave VacTruth an extremely different version of events. He said the government and the World Health Organization have made up these facts. The government banned journalists from visiting the hospital since the children brought in sick. All the children from Goro received the vaccine. Firstly, they, government, who collaborated with the school's headmaster, who locked the school's main door before vaccinating all the children. The school's headmaster told the children that anyone who refused the vaccine would be banned from the school and then arrested. Secondly, they went door to door and injected the babies over 1 year. If you find this event difficult to believe, then cast your mind back to 2007 when the news broke that children in Maryland had been forcefully vaccinated at gunpoint under orders from the state attorney general, various state judges, and local school board director, all whom illegally conspired to threaten parents with imprisonment if they did not submit children to vaccinations. Another example of these bully boy tactics was seen in Mali last year, where 131 children were vaccinated at gunpoint after their parents had refused the measles vaccine. A tragic timeline. Interesting, the health minister ended his official statement by saying that the state of the paralyzed children's health is not worrisome. If that is true, then why did the Chadian government move them to another hospital And why was this move done in secret? Our Canadian contact informed me that parents were not even allowed to know where their children were being evacuated to prior to evacuation. He confirmed that on the day that the children were evacuated, Njamni International Airport had been closed to visitors. VacTruth reported on the Chadian tragedy on January 6, 2013. However, a team of experts in Chad did not begin to investigate the situation fully until January 9th. The Prime Minister of Chad did not visit the sick children in the hospital until a few days later. On January 13th, VacTruth released a film of the TV footage of this visit that had been copied and forwarded to us. So why did the Chadian government take so long to act on the appalling situation? According to France 24, the health minister did not make his announcement until January 9th, 5 weeks after the incident occurred. Another false representation of the facts portrayed to the public in the following information which has been reported by several websites. In total, more than 100 million people in 10 African countries have been vaccinated against the disease. It is possible that tens of millions of people were vaccinated with MenAfriVac, although highly unlikely. However, it is a total impossibility by the WHO's own admission that this number was vaccinated using controlled temperature chain CDC implementations in November 2012. WHO stated, evidence of the heat stability of MenAfriVac was validated by a team of experts from WHO, PATH, and SIL and Health Canada. In collaboration with the government of Benin, the Meningitis Vaccine Project MVP optimized, and the WHO Regional Office for Africa. A pilot use of the MenAfriVac vaccine in a CTC will be conducted during the upcoming MenAfriVac campaign in the northern part of the country. From November 15th through November 25th, Benin is the 10th country to introduce the vaccine, as well as the first country to work with the new CTC implementation guidelines developed through WHO's Immunization Practices Advisory Committee, breaking the rules at least twice. So what has been going on behind the scenes? MenAfriVac was a pre-licensed vaccine still in the testing stages. It had been advertised by all the major organizations involved in the campaign, including UNICEF, FDA, CDC, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, PATH, Meningitis Vaccine Project, and WHO, as a vaccine that could be kept in a controlled temperature chain, CTC, at temperatures of up to 40 degrees Celsius for up to 4 days. However, according to the manufacturer, this information was not strictly true because they state MenAfriVac should be stored and transported between 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, protected from light. The diluent should be stored at 25 degrees Celsius. It is recommended to protect the reconstituted vaccine from direct light. According to a report of a meeting which took place on October 2012 between the World Health Organization, Immunizations, Vaccines and Biologicals Group, and the Immunization Practice Advisory Committee, IPAC, the MenAfriVac vaccine had not been fully licensed and would not be due to be fully endorsed until 2013 at the earliest. The children of Goro were vaccinated in December of 2012, apparently with a vaccine that was still being tested and had yet been gained approval to be used outside of a cold temperature chain, according to sources. Dr. Diego read this message in French on Chad TV, a local television station. We have done all analysis. We believe that the vaccine was not the cause of the paralysis and the children were not in danger. It is clear that the vaccine is not the cause. All seems to show that the vaccine, which already had been largely used on the whole of the chain, does not produce vaccinal complications. We have retested the vaccine both at the level of the producer and as well as the level of random checks, which are undecided. These will give their results within several weeks, but actually we are not sure that the vaccine is not the cause. What we are sure of is, first of all, that there is no danger whatsoever for the children. That is very important to say. All the clinical trials that we have done are completely normal, other than this agitation, which is real. It translates the fear of the children. Translated from French. This is the first public acknowledgement admitting that the children had become ill and paralyzed after they had received the vaccination, as well as the first of likely many denials that the vaccine is not to blame. So who is Dr. Diego Burgat, and who does he represent? Dr. Diego Burgat is the director of the WHO office in Lyon, France. He is in charge of the Department of Communicable Diseases Surveillance and Response, and with impressive credentials and considerable experience in public health problems of developing countries. Of course, he would say that the vaccines did not cause the children's injuries, even though he had admitted that all the test results have not yet been received and won't be for several weeks. Remember his words? We have retested the vaccine both at the level of the producer as well as the level of random checks, which are undecided. These will give their results within several weeks, but actually we are sure that the vaccine is not the cause. On January 20th, 2013, the human rights organizations ECOTERRA International and I wrote a letter to the resident representative WHO in Chad, Dr. Sadio Pathi Berry, who have checked the WHO website regularly since submitting our inquiry, but we have not found any report or update. For this reason, we have been forced to make a public appeal to WHO and ask them to answer our 14 questions regarding the MenAfriVac vaccination tragedy at the earliest convenience. On January 22nd, we were given a copy of the original press release signed by the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Mahmoud Nahor Nagarwa. It makes interesting but predictable reading. The findings were the same old same, although the release did admit to the inadequate hospital conditions, the lack of medical follow-up, especially on the psychological level, and the dialogue between the community and the health personnel as being insufficient. No cause for the illness of the children appears to have been found. Interestingly, the experts' recommendations stated, make sure of a progressive yet fast return of the children to their families and a medical follow-up. Maintain the dialogue with the families, the actors, and the partners of the vaccination. Reinforce the medical structure at the local level by adding a doctor and a state-registered nurse for a better tracking of the health population and routine activities. What I would also like to note, the symptoms observed in the patients resemble those which have been described in the literature under several names: collective hysteria, collective obsessive behavior, mass psychogenetic phenomenon. In other words, the experts are trying to say that the children's conditions is psychological. This move is growing in popularity. Governments and the medical profession uses it's all in their heads phenomenon to minimize vaccine damage, thus shifting the blame to parents or the victim. It says, how are the children doing? When I asked my contact if the conditions of the hospitalized children were improving, he replied, the children in the hospital are still paralyzed. Most of the children still can't stand up. Some have convulsions so badly that they need 4 people to attend them. Those who have convulsions end with their arms straight and their eyes are fixed open without reaction. We are not receiving enough information about the children, the government, and who took to Tanzania. There are sick children left in Guru who may be evacuated to Libya. We have yet to see the full outcome of the MenAfriVac vaccine tragedy. There is little doubt that these children were very sick and may need lifelong care and attention. They will likely be returned home if they recover sufficiently without the adequate care and attention, and their parents left without help or support to care for their children's disabilities alone. Unfortunately, many third world countries do not have access to basic equipment such as wheelchairs that we in the Western world take for granted. Surely it is now time for the Canadian government and organizations involved to stop trying to cover up this tragedy and instead look after the sick children properly. I believe that the real tragedy of this whole situation in the past few months, these children, like thousands of others, will be forgotten, and it will be business as usual for all the organizations involved. The MenAfriVac vaccination will likely be given to millions more third world children across Africa. The vaccination of children with pre-licensed and unlicensed vaccines, which are to be life-threatening, needs to cease. This is not healthcare, but a total disregard for human life in the name of profit. That came from this article. I've posted it several times. Now, I also would like to note that in India is trying to hold Bill Gates accountable for his vaccine crimes. It says here in India, the HPV vaccine was forced on these women, on these children. 16,000 tribal school children. 120 became ill with epileptic seizures, stomach pain, headaches, and mood swings. There was 5 deaths. That's this article right here. You can find all that information in this article. Now, what I want to go to now is the... where's it at? The enterovirus. Okay, 475 children in Kansas alone have this. And no adults have it, it's just children. Now I'm going to read here. Mysterious EV-D68, okay, which is a version of the enterovirus. But there's also another version that's talking about an outbreak, and they call it neurological enterovirus type 71 disease. Okay, and this was from, there was some in 2006, 2003 to 2005, so this has been around for a while, but I'm going to read this article right here. It says, the mysterious virus known as EV-D68 has spread across the Midwest at a rapid rate. Many children have been hospitalized with the virus, about 475 in Kansas City alone, and there is no known vaccine to lessen the effects of the virus or protect those who have yet to acquire it. EV-D68 has created an outbreak in Colorado, Missouri, Utah, Kansas, Illinois, Ohio, and 4 more states in the Midwest. The symptoms can mimic those of the influenza virus, but can have a much more dire impact on those that fall ill. Dr. Mary Ann Jackson, the hospital's division director of infectious disease, shared her concern on CNN. It's worse in terms of scope of critically ill children who require intensive care. I would call it unprecedented. I've practiced for 30 years in pediatrics, and I've never seen anything quite like this. Though there is no known vaccine for the virus, and the scope for which it will receive is also unknown, those that have become infected are following a common theme. This is important. Listen. They all have been vaccinated with the MMR vaccines, influenza vaccines, and polio vaccines. Of course, many children in the United States have been vaccinated, and most are required to be vaccinated in order to enter school. However, it is interesting to note that the illness is not occurring yet in children that have not been vaccinated. William Schaffner, head of the Department of Preventive Medicine at Vanderbilt University, has not shared that EV-D68 has only infected vaccinated children, but does share his concern about the virus. Most enteroviruses cause either a little bit of cold or diarrheal illness. A few cause meningitis. This one is if you will, an odd cousin. It causes predominant respiratory symptoms. Why it does that, we're really not sure. There is no doubt that the outbreak of ED68 is quite scary and may have more dangers than the RSV virus outbreak in the late 1990s. Many parents are wondering what they can do to keep their children protected and shielded from contracting the virus. CNN shared the following information to help keep your kids safe, which is kind of weird because it's the same advice they gave for the Ebola. To reduce the risk of infections, individuals should wash hands often with soap and water for 20 seconds, especially after changing diapers. Avoid touching eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands. Avoid kissing, hugging, and sharing cups or eating utensils with people who are sick. Disinfect frequently touched surfaces such as toys and doorknobs, and stay home when feeling sick. Some reporting agencies also recommending the use of vitamin D as a natural immune system booster to help strengthen the immune system prior to the virus reaching individuals. So far, states that are surrounded by the virus, such as Indiana and Michigan, seem to be safe from the outbreak. Only time will tell if it will continue to spread and eventually die off, like the avian flu did. Okay, the reason why I decided to cover all these stories is because they all have a theme. This enterovirus is attacking children. The children had to go get these shots in order to go to school. The polio vaccine is in the MMR. Alright? And it's only affecting children. Now, this right here is a really extensive report, analysis report. It says, outbreak of neurological enterovirus type 71 disease, a diagnostic challenge. Now, for the people who have these children in the hospitals right now, have them take a fecal sample and check that. If they have taken a sample of the spinal fluid and nothing's showing up, that's why. Because it does say in here that there were several cases that came up that they did not get anything from the spinal fluid, but they did from the fecal. So you need to have them do a fecal testing on it. I don't know if anybody's going to see this that's having this problem, but it's very, very important that you have that done. You need to have the batch. You need to find out the batch number of when you went and got your vaccines done. You need to go actually get a shot record. And you need to look at the date of when your child was vaccinated. And you need to find out the batch number that was used. Because I guarantee you the nurse had to write that down. You need to find out what batch number that was, and they need to test that and find out, because it's really, really strange that all this stuff is leading into the vaccines, not just in the United States, but all over the world. And it all leads to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In these other countries, these vaccines weren't even tested. They weren't even through the testing phase yet, and they were shooting kids up with this MenAfriVac. So, you know, you got all this evidence that points to the same person. You got children getting sick, not adults. Okay? This is coming from these vaccines. Okay? And this is more than one source. There's stacks and stacks and stacks of stuff that I have. There's medical evidence coming out of Oxford University and the CDC. And then there's nobody that's going to convince me that a doctor can't look at all this in 5 minutes and figure out where it's coming from. So, sorry about my dog barking in the background, but they let him out, and so now he's barking wanting in. But anyways, you guys, this is important information. There's a lot here. There's a lot of stuff in here that only people who have medical knowledge can figure it out. But the common sense is there. You just got to look and read through it. I'm going to cover this tomorrow on our radio show. Our radio show is going to be on haywiregulch.com. We're going to be on every Friday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I want you all to listen in. But we're going to be covering this tomorrow on the show. But I want to get this out. I've sent this information to several people. I've posted this information on my Facebook. Parents need to read this. You need to share this. This needs to be seen by a doctor or a scientist. Okay? Because this needs to end. It's making our children sick. It's making children around the world sick. And these companies are trying to cover it up. But anyway, that's why I decided to cover this. It's very, very important. We need someone that has the knowledge, medical knowledge, to get on here, read this stuff, and explain to us what the hell's going on with it. Because it needs to be stopped. And there's no convincing me that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and people who are funding them did not know that this was going on. Okay? Because they took a untested vaccine, took it over there, and gave it to children and forced it on them. And now all of a sudden, all this stuff's breaking out over in Africa. You know, all those people were given that MenAfriVac, and it was not put in a cold storage. There's no telling what the hell it's done. Or it's mutated over time. It's made somebody sick. We don't know. All I know is that there's a trail leading to the vaccines. And it's right here if you look at it. People can sit on the news and they're going to bullshit you and they're going to confuse you and they're going to say it's this, it's that, and they're going to be pointing fingers at everybody else instead of, and they're not, I'm telling you, the media is not going to cover the fact that these people are the ones that did this. You know why? Because they sponsor the media. The people that own the media are involved in this. So you're not going to hear this on mainstream media. It's going to have to be forced out there to the point where they have to. Well, they have to cover it. And they have to hold somebody accountable for this. It's bullshit. Anyway, I'm going to get off here. I'm going on for 25 minutes. But share this video. Share this information. I'll post it all under the video. And I hope everybody listens in tomorrow night.